Welcome to this tutorial about Grass Valley Channel Composer. In this tutorial we'll go over the creation of a Cliptitle template along with the Cliptitle formats. So for this Cliptitle we'll first have to add a new template. So on the project section I can go up to the new template button and add a new template to my project. And right click and rename it to HD Cliptitle in. In this case we're going to use gradient plane for our background in combination with two text fields. So let's start off by adding the plane to our template. In order to do this I can go over to the Add Object library, go to Plane and add a gradient plane. Now we can of course alter the gradient in order to give it a better result. So I can go over to Materials, double click and go over to the gradient plasma. And in the gradient plasma I can start altering my gradient and I can give it an angle of 90 degrees and alter the colors as well by clicking the gradient points. Now of course the next step is to alter the size of our plane. So I can double click my plane and with width and height sliders at the top I can alter the size. So I'll go for instance set it to a size of about 700 by say 200. One of the other things I can do is make rounded corners to this plane. So I can set the radius of course. And over here you can directly see why we need to use the width and height values instead of altering our size like this. As you can see, my corners will stretch because I'm scaling my plane instead of resizing it. So now that I've rounded corners around my gradient plane, I can start adding my text fields. So I can go to Add Object again, and in Add Object I can go to Text and add a new text field. And this text field has an extra option called Copy from Transform Gizmo, which allows me to resize my text field on the stage and eventually reset the scaling and take over the native size of the text field. So in this case I can start resizing my text field and press the Copy from Transform Gizmo, and as you can see the Grass Valley text will be rescaled again to a native size. So I can start altering my font as well. I can set the size to 53. I'm fine with the current font I have, and I can set the alignment. And for the alignment I can set a horizontal mode, and I have a few horizontal modes available. The most important ones are the auto fit and word wrap. The word wrap will wrap a word to a next line if it reaches the end of the text field, and the autofill will make sure that the text will not exceed the text field and will always crop if it's bigger than the text field itself. So in this case I'm going to use the autofit mode, and I can show you the result of this just by adding some text. My text will start to crop to make sure it still fits within the text frame. So next step will be to go to the styling, and well, in this case I'm pretty happy with the color. So the next step is to add a second text field, and we can just do this very easily by copying over the current one we've created just by pressing Ctrl C and Ctrl V on the keyboard. And on Mac this will be Command C and Command V. And now I have a second text field which I can move down with the arrow keys and reposition. Now the next step is to add scene parameters to our text fields in order to eventually get the metadata from the database in order to fill our clip title, in order to see which video clip is playing currently. In order to do this I double click my text field and I go to the top at the point where I can fill in my text. And at this point, with the triangle next to the text field, I can say link to scene parameter and create a new scene parameter, in this case for instance title. I have to do the same thing for my other text field, so I can double click that text field and do the same thing, triangle, link to scene parameter, and in this case it would be artist. Now of course we want to create an animation for this clip title as well, and the best way to do this is to group all the objects together and make an animation of the group itself. This is very easily done by selecting all the objects on the stage and pressing G on the keyboard. And now I have a group created of my clip title, and I can start animating this clip title. So if I'm happy with this position where it's currently at, I can say, for instance, I want to have this position at 1 second. I can add a new keyframe, and at 0 seconds it should be out of the screen. So I can move it out of the screen and add a new keyframe again. And this will be the result. I have some other options available for keyframes as well, where I can create interpolation. Currently it's at a constant speed, and I can also set it as an ease in or an ease out, or an ease in and out, or a step where with the step it will step from the first keyframe directly to the second at the time when it hits the second keyframe. So for instance with an ease out, this would be the result. Now we'll move on in creating our clip title out template, since our clip title in template is basically done. And for the clip title out we do exactly the same thing as I've done in the previous tutorials. Create a duplicate template of my clip title. So I can press the duplicate template button and rename my clip title to clip title out. And of course do the same thing as I've done with previous tutorials. Press the select all timeline items button and go to tools and press reverse. And this is the result. The only thing that it will not reverse is the interpolation we've set in the clip title in. So currently my interpolation I've set, the ease out, is at the end keyframe, and it's only going to pick up the interpolation from the first keyframe. So we have to change the first keyframe in this case to ease in order to recreate the reverse of our animation.